coaches are overwhelmed with the sales process. They don't know all the steps to include. They're fearful of missing critical steps that are a part of the sales process. And ultimately, they want the call to go well. They want to sign more clients and help more people. And in order to do that, we have to master discovery calls and the way that we communicate. What I'm going to be sharing with you today is how to schedule the call, how to prepare for the call, what to put in your script, how to close the deal, and how to follow up after the call. These are really critical steps that I want to make sure that you include. So get a pen and paper and get ready to write this stuff down because this is super important. By the way, if you struggle with closing the deal, collecting payment, or maybe clients not committing to your coaching on the call, stick around to the end of this video where I share 3 scenarios that will help you with this. First of all, let's start with scheduling the call. The biggest mistake that I see coaches make in this step is they don't actually ask the person to get on a call with them. And sometimes it's out of nervousness, maybe they don't know what to say, but ultimately, you don't want to miss this step. Once you know that there's somebody in your world who's interested in your content, interested in what you've shared and how you can help them, it is your job to have the courage to ask them to get on a call. Here's a phrase I like to use to easily invite somebody on a call with you. How open-minded are you about jumping on a call and discussing some of these challenges you've shared with me and seeing what kind of solutions we can come up with? That's you offering your support. If somebody has been communicating with you and there's been some back and forth, and you know that they have some challenges in the area where you help, then ask them, how open-minded are you about jumping on a short call together? And we can discuss some of these things in person and come up with some recommendations that will help you. Now, you've invited them to a call. Don't wait until the day of that call to just get on the call and hope that it goes well. You now have some things to do to prepare. So one of the first things I want you to think about is, this is a person. This is a real person. They're a human being. So why don't you go look at their social profiles and see what can you learn about them before you get on a call? Where do they live? What do they do? What do they enjoy doing for fun? Who is in their life? Partner, kids, family, friends. Get a little context about them and who they are so that maybe there's some things that you relate to or have in common, or maybe this would be a great opportunity for you to have some things to ask them questions about. Because although you're getting on a discovery call to discover if this might be a good fit for you to work together, they are also a human being. And so you want to help them feel comfortable at the beginning of the call. And one of the ways you do that is you relate to them. You help them feel comfortable by asking them some questions about them personally. Now, here's another tip. When you look at their social profiles, you're going to be finding out some important details that may give you a heads up about whether or not there could be some objections on the call. For example, if you're looking at their Facebook profile and you see that they have a partner, then isn't there a good chance that that could be an objection they bring up on the call? Well, now you have a tip. You have a heads up, and you can prepare for that conversation with them so that you know how to ask them, is there someone else in your life that will be a part of this decision-making process? By the way, if you're liking this video so far, give me a thumbs up below to let me know. So now you've scheduled the call. You've done some research for the call. What are you gonna do with all that research? Well, let's move on to scripting the call. I want you to be prepared so that you know how the call is going to go. One of the biggest mistakes that I see coaches make is they just go into the call hoping it's going to turn into a yes, hoping that person just lays over and says, oh yes, I want to work with you. You've got to show up for the call prepared to have a conversation that will help them make that decision. So instead of making that mistake and not being prepared, I want you to take all that research you did and all that information, and I want you to outline how you want the call to go. This is essentially your script. You're going to know what questions you want to ask, what information you know ahead of time, what additional information that you need, and you're not going to know how to guide the call unless you've thought about it ahead of time and taken the time to write this down. By the way, if you want to see how a discovery call is structured, make sure to check out the video that I'm going to link at the end. It's called How to Improve Your Discovery Calls in 12 Minutes, and I share my 9-step framework that you can use on every discovery call. So now we're at another really critical part of discovery calls. How do you end the conversation? Most coaches do not have a next step in place at the end of the conversation. And that's the piece I want to cover with you today. It is so important that you always have a next step in place before you end the conversation. So one of 3 scenarios is going to happen on this call. Either they're a yes, they're a maybe, or they're a no. If they're a yes, my recommendation is finish the purchase on the call with them so that you can celebrate with them on the call. They've just made a really powerful decision to invest in themselves and go after the transformation they desire. It is so important to celebrate with them. So if you get a yes, collect the payment, celebrate on the call. If they're a maybe, before you get off the call, I want you to have the follow-up call. So if they haven't made a decision and they need a couple of days to think about it, maybe that's what they told you. Say, great, how many days do you need to think about it? 2 days? Okay, let's go ahead and put something on the calendar for 2 days from now. That way you have next steps with them so that you can hold them accountable to completing their decision. And if they are a no, I would still invite them. Stay close in my world. Let's stay connected. And why don't we check in about 3 to 4 months? How does that sound? And when they say yes, get it on the calendar before you get off the call. That way you have something that you can both look forward to and they feel cared about. They feel like you're invested in them and their progress because you are. Sales is all about building relationships.